Can you tell us a little bit about Amdocs and what your role is at the company?
Sure. Amdocs is a 40-year-old company, really focused on, it's a software and service provider, providing services to leading communications and media companies. A couple of things that we do is we help cloud transformation. Companies transform into the cloud. We differentiate with 5G, and we make sure we automate and digitalize their processes overall to empower our customers to give next-generation experiences for their end users. Customers include the likes of AT&T, T-Mobile, Comcast, Rogers, and Bell. Specifically in my role, I had product for industry platforms. Basically, I'm responsible for the innovation and the strategy around various SaaS products in the portfolio. And the main thing is ensuring that we're product-led and ensuring that we provide impact overall for the products that we have.
Great. Mohit, CNR is a 103-year-old company, so you've done a lot of transformation in over 103 years. You've got 20,000 railroaders who are transporting $250 billion worth of goods in North America. That's a lot of complexity. How do you manage that process?
Well, just to add to that, CN truly is an enabler of North American economy. If you eat it, if you wear it, if you drive it, chances are we deliver it. So CN truly is a network of network business. And when it comes to complexity of handling a network of network business, you ought to make sure all the touch points are well taken care of. So the first thing that we have looked at from an automation standpoint is we have defined an automation agenda which is business-led, technology-enabled. We have worked with our business units and defined an automation journey from a small A automation, which is a process automation, a data mining automation, a robotic process automation. So going from a small A to a big A for us, and a big A automation stands for a cognitive automation, where you bring in the power of technology using AI, using machine learning, and going beyond machine learning and AI also to a quantum computing world. So our journey has been to define those small A to a big A journey and a gap plan for all of our business units and pick the items that have the maximum ROI, maximum value, which is going back to our business, and define that journey for all of our operating units and business units. To give you a few examples on that, we have automated a lot of end-to-end supply chain processes when it comes to how we deal with ports, how we deal with our partners, how we deal with our trucking communities. We have overall in our network 23 plus terminals and multiple yards where we either deal with containers or rail cars. We have automated our in-gate, out-gate processes so that we make ease of business for our truckers and partners. We have automated a lot of customer processes using APIs so that we enable near real-time to real-time tracking of our goods and shipments on our platform. And we have automated a lot of rolling stock as well as our linear assets as well. So we have 20,000 plus miles of our network. So imagine that network in the conditions of Canada. Our network goes from East Coast to the West Coast, going down to the Gulf of Mexico. So we have to deal with weather conditions, weather patterns, ice, snow, you name it. So we have automated a lot of defect management processes, predictive maintenance processes, and we have two massive programs. One is automated inspection portal that identifies defects while the train is in motion. So think of large-scale machine vision programs that really identify defects while the train is in motion at the track speed. We have another automation program to identify defects on our tracks, which is called Automated Track Inspection Portal, which is literally a moving data center connected to a revenue train. And we have a number of those rail cars. I call them as connected data centers coming from a tech field. They identify all the geometric defects, rail ties defect, anything that is going onto the rail tracks. We use LiDAR, sonar, AI, you name it, a complex automation technology to identify those defects, to make our track workers safer, to make our ecosystems safer, and to give a value-added service to our customers.
Your challenge is a complex one, and you've met it with a complex solution. Martin, very nice to see you. CI Global Asset Management is not a young company. You're 60 years in business, and I imagine there was a lot of evolution that happened there. But you've spent the past 2 years sort of investing heavily in a digital transformation. What does that look like?
So our strategy was around building in some operational efficiencies and cost savings. Our ultimate goal there was an increased or an enhanced client experience, but as well as an employee experience. The strategy we used was to start with systematic sprints across 4 work streams. There was so many levers that we could have pulled to gain some efficiencies, but we couldn't boil the ocean, or we didn't want to boil the ocean, and we wanted to manage the disruption across our existing business. So what we did was, we did systematic sprints across 4 work streams, 2 in our operations, 1 in IT, and 1 in our contact center.
And the underlying technology for the transformation?
So specifically with intelligent automation, we're using a robotic process automation platform as well as an intelligent document processing platform.
Interesting. Mohit, or Sumit, Amdocs has a no-code, low-code product that you're pushing out to customers. I assume that means it's for the less technological buyer that sort of reassures them. Is that the idea there?
I think the main thing to look at when you look at no-code, low-code is exactly the barrier of actually being able to execute faster, right? Being able to execute at scale. And so the products we support allow for that, allow for you to go with, I would say a workforce that isn't necessarily that you can find at a broader scale. To really push that execution side of it, right? Really, even internally for ourselves, what we want to look at is you have that ability to execute quickly and really focus on what's the impact and the insights you get out of it. So really, that's what we really want to drive with our low-code and no-code products.
You use it internally too.
Yeah, for sure. Internally for us, it does help, especially when it comes to scalability. The teams that we're a part of are naturally small, being a department that's in its growth stage. So really, what we want to do is make sure that we can provide the most impact, ensure that we can do the most out of the resources that we have. So definitely comes in handy, especially when it comes to experimenting and getting things out in the market quicker to see how we can be flexible and agile with what we do.
It improves communication, breaks down silos. Is that the idea?
Yes, it does. I think in a sense that you get more time to focus outside of just the core execution. Your head is not really focused in terms of building something to hit a deadline. It does actually accelerate that timeline and gives you time to focus on other things. Like mentioned earlier, saving that 1 hour allows for the communication across different silos and different departments.
Mohit, you described a very complex transformation, as we said. How does the workforce react to that? What's the cultural challenge in getting everybody on board, literally, figuratively, on the train?
I think for every transformation, there are 3 key elements, and I guess it was discussed in previous panels as well. So we have to get the act of people, process, and technology together. And what we believe, technology, you have different variations of technology coming in. You will have a lot of technical expertise coming in from your partners, from your workforce. So I would say it's a thread which is still under control. Process, we have used multiple frameworks for process optimization, be it Lean, Six Sigma, and whatnot. So it's another thread which I would say is still manageable and under control. Where we have spent majority of the effort is on the people aspect. We are a 103-year-old company, so we have a lot of systems where we depend on tribal knowledge. We have a lot of systems where we don't have an up-to-date documentation available. It goes back to 30, 35 years old technologies and systems we have used. So what we have focused on truly is to bring people together with us on that journey and spend a lot of effort in explaining the context, sharing the why, explaining how, and bringing everyone's skill set to the level that they can be part of the journey. And I would say that's where we have spent majority of the effort. It's taking time, but it's the right thing to do, because then you have a flywheel innovation that comes out of it when the whole workforce is fully embracing the change and embracing the technology and the process optimization work that is happening in our ecosystem.
This is probably a good question for you from our audience. How do you view capacity saved as a benefit to automation?
So for us, if you look at it, as I mentioned, truly supply chain is a network of network business. And for us to deliver goods, to deliver cars, to deliver everything that we use in our day-to-day operations, we have to depend on multiple touch points. So to just give you a real use case, goods that come from either Asia or come from Europe, they go through the customs and they go through trucking companies first to get to them to the port. Then you work with steamship liners. steamship liners, when a ship arrives at the port in North American context, they work with local workforce to de-ramp the containers. Then we work with either CBSA or United States Customs Security to get the goods cleared. And then they work with our workers to get stuff onto the trains. So if you look at multiple touch points, for us, the capacity is bringing automation to bring the productivity aspect. So we could ship goods faster. We could deliver goods faster to our customers, and at the same time bring a level of employee experience through automating all those multiple touch points. That's where we have spent a lot of effort. For us, it's the productivity gain that comes into play. It's not just a cost-saving play. Cost-saving comes as a byproduct. For us, the majority of the effort has been to bring productivity to our overall end-to-end supply chain and make it as seamless as possible, as data-driven as possible, and bring it consistent and bring a lot of resilience into supply chain. And we all have seen what happened in COVID. Supply chain disruptions are still happening. So our job has been use technology to make supply chain more resilient and bring as less friction points through technology and data integration is where we have been focused on as a team.
I want to get back to supply chain in a little while, but Martin, I wanted to hear sort of the labor question for you too, the workforce question. You're in the middle of this transformation. That means your people have to be engaged and basically buy into it. How do you achieve that culturally?
Yeah, and I think the simple answer is change management. This is a key aspect to any transformation. I think transformations can easily be measured against the amount of effort you're putting into change management, whether you succeed or you fail. The key is to, as you mentioned, is to bring people along for the journey. If you don't bring them along for the journey, you will not have that adoption that you so seek at the end of it. And I think the critical aspect is people. You can't really automate without the people and the expertise that they have that are doing the manual processes. And what you're doing is you're not necessarily automating them out of work. What you're doing is you're automating them into higher value work. You're dealing with the menial tasks, the work that really consumes them for hours and hours on end on a daily basis. And you're giving them that time back so that they can actually focus on the things that require their decision-making power and their knowledge and their industry experience.
I think when the process of automation became sort of widespread and understood by the workforce in general, people really had that fear that, well, this means my job is going away.
It's change, right? So
right.
There's always anxiety around change. And as long as you attempt to, it's not always going to work, but you attempt to manage it, I think you can build that level of trust with the entire organization.
Right. Sumit, same question for you. Workforce culture, how do you go about altering that?
Well, I'd say, like you mentioned, like was mentioned before, you really want to bring them along with the journey, right? You got to make them a part of it. It really is kind of understanding, you're upskilling. You're not necessarily being replaced, right?
Right.
You're saving the time of something that's medial to really focus on the things in terms of how do you improve the process. Really giving that element of inclusion to say that, hey, this is a process. It's going to continuously change, and for the better, to be more efficient, to get the best out of your time. So using that and using that type of kind of methodology with the employees really does help to kind of bring them along and sees that, hey, they're spending their time on stuff that's meaningful
right.
as opposed to something that's not.
Does that help you with recruitment and retention, particularly in this labor market?
I think retention, it's always, people love working on things that are exciting, right? And so, really taking away from the medial task really focuses on that. When it comes to recruiting, the same thing applies. We really want to understand the person, really the value and the impact they're going to bring, and
right.
not necessarily what they're going to be able to do quickly, right?
Right.
Treat them as a person and not a resource.
Right. Mohit, why don't you tell us where we are in that supply chain? I think everybody wants to know. Is the problem solved? Are we halfway there? Are we?
I think it's a journey, and where we stand right now, we have been looking multiple touch points and see how we truly define an end-to-end supply chain platforms. We have been investing in automating multiple parts of that touch point. So if you look at what we have done in the last 2+ years, we have a digital twin of our network. We call it a smart network. It has so many what-if scenarios available for us, so we could truly look at where do we need to deploy our capacity or where do we need to deploy our crew so that we can solve the problem in the supply chain ecosystem in our network. That's one. We have I talked about automated inspection portals where we have a revenue train going through the portal and we identify defects. So identifying defects allows us to turn the train faster for the next move, which allows us to bring a lot more resilience to supply chain. Similarly, we have automated track inspection portal, which allow us to, it's again a moving data center connected to a revenue train that identifies defects for us. We have been able to improve the defect detection by almost 10x times. Now, what has that allowed us to do is, again, run trains in a much more resilient way, so bring a lot more resilience. We have been working with our customer service teams to have a lot more automation brought into our customer service ecosystem so that we can have a value-added discussion with our customers rather than doing customer service job just to solve the problems. And overall, what we are focusing on now is we are truly bringing a supply chain platform on our ecosystem where we have customers, partners, employees, customer service teams all connected to one source of truth, so you can have an end-to-end orchestration done right from your order to cash process. As soon as you get an order, how you work and deal with that order with your operating systems, operating teams, and then orchestrate that back, the data back into your core platform and have that seamless information shared with everybody else as well. So it's a journey. We are on that journey. We are not done, and it's going to be an ongoing track until we really go to the stage where we have seamless interfaces and seamless interactions done with all the multiple touch points, be it customers that deal with us, be it intermediary parties that work with us, be it ports, government officials, customs bodies, and whatnot. So that's where we are, and everybody is focused on making sure that we have seamless interconnections or automation developed from a technology standpoint for our business so that they can have customer service as well as resiliency baked into the overall supply chain process.
Well, we're rooting for you. I am, in particular, I need a new car, so. Martin, you serve 1 million customers every day. What's the technology that most transformed that relationship between CIS and the customer?
So, I mean, it's kind of a huge ecosystem of technology within our company, but our business is still very much a people and a relationship type of business. So technology isn't going to replace that part. What we do with our technology is to enable whether our sales, our service, or our back office IT to be able to create, build, automate things faster, deliver them faster. One of the key aspects of that, though, is the accuracy and the error reduction in what you're doing. So inherently, when people are processing things, errors, human error can happen a lot, and that has a negative effect on your client experience. With automation and with technology, you can virtually eliminate a lot of those errors because the bots are really they're processing in the exact same way. The key there is the input. So it's garbage in, garbage out. But if it's good, whatever your inputs are good coming in, then it's going to be perfect coming out.
Sumit, is there a single most pressing technology issue for your clients? Or do you get the same question over and over?
Yeah, I think for our customers overall of Amdocs, I think the main thing that we're looking at is the transformation into the cloud, right? Really, that's been the focus, and along with that, making sure that the transformation for them, along with the automated processes and the digitalization, makes sense and provides impact. So that's really been the focus for our customers. Along with that, we want to make sure that the rest of the next-gen technologies are there for them, making sure that they have the ability to access the low-code, no-code side of things, along with the process to enable that for them. So really, that's where our focus is right now, and building with them as they go into this journey.
How big a concern is security for those customers?
Security is big. I think, especially with the companies we're dealing with, data breach is going to be very, very important for us. So a lot of focus has been put in terms of ensuring that there's a security as we work with the various principal cloud providers that are out there, ensuring there's a level of security that's there, because there's a lot of important information, especially when it comes to the billing information of our users, personal information, that it stays protected.
We have a question from the audience, and Grace mentioned this too. I was very interested. With data ethics, there's been a trend where businesses are questioning the security and the ethics of the use of their data. Is that something you run into, and how do you?
Yeah, for sure. I think this focusing on the ethics and use of the data. I think the main thing is transparency. Some of the things that we've seen around GDPR and CCPA, making sure that the individual knows exactly how the data is being used and has control of the data that is being used. Right? You're seeing that a lot when this comes to the basic things such as cookies. Right? Expanding that to the other. Definitely with AI, there's definitely many data points. Letting them know how that data is being used and making sure that they have the ability to control that is going to be important.
Same question for you, Martin. I imagine this is a concern of your clients.
It is, and I'll be honest, I'm not really qualified to answer the question. However, I think governance around data is super important, and I think the fact that we have chief security officers now, which wasn't sort of a role that existed maybe 5 years ago, I think that just leads into how important this is, and yeah, I think definitely as much as effort and resources you're putting into collecting that data, I think you should probably be devoting as much to securing it.